There's a war happening right now, and it's taking place in your mind. It starts with a single thought, small, harmless, then another, and another. Before you know it, you're drowning in your own overanalysis, playing out endless scenarios, regretting past decisions, worrying about things that may never even happen. You try to stop, but the more you fight it, the deeper you sink. It feels impossible to escape, doesn't it? The truth is, overthinking isn't just a habit. It's a mental prison. It keeps you stuck, exhausted, second-guessing every step you take. It convinces you that by thinking more, you'll somehow figure everything out. But in reality, it does the opposite. It robs you of clarity, confidence, and peace. But what if I told you that the solution to breaking free has been around for over 2,000 years? That some of the greatest minds in history, emperors, philosophers, and warriors, discovered a way to silence the endless noise, clear their minds, and move forward with unshakable confidence. Today, we're diving into 5 life-changing Stoic lessons that will help you master your mind, stop overanalyzing every little thing, and finally take control of your thoughts. Each lesson is built on ancient wisdom. But don't be fooled. These aren't just old ideas. They're strategies used by high performers today. People who stay sharp under pressure, make clear decisions without hesitation, and live without the mental clutter that holds most of us back. By the end of this video, you'll have a new way of thinking, one that frees you from hesitation and doubt. And trust me, the last lesson, it's the one that changes everything. To understand how powerful this mindset can be, let's start with a story, one that proves how your mind can be your greatest enemy, or your greatest weapon. Before we dive in, I have one challenge for you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's the one thought you catch yourself overthinking the most? Let's break free from it together. Lesson 1. The Overthinker's Trap. The year is 165 AD. The Roman Empire is crumbling, engulfed by chaos. On one side, the empire faces brutal war. On another, a plague that threatens to wipe out entire cities. And then there's betrayal, power struggles that could turn allies into enemies overnight. In the middle of it all, the weight of leadership falls on one man, Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Now, imagine the pressure. You're at the helm of an empire, responsible for the lives of millions. Your soldiers are dying in battle. Your people are suffering from disease, and there's no clear end in sight. This is the moment when most would panic, when most would let their minds run wild with fear, doubt, and anxiety. But Marcus, he did something unexpected, something that seems almost counterintuitive in a world full of chaos. Instead of succumbing to panic, he picked up his journal. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That right there, that simple sentence, is one of the greatest lessons you can ever learn. Your mind is where it all begins, and your mind can create suffering that doesn't even exist. When we overthink, we trap ourselves in problems that haven't happened yet, in scenarios that are based on assumptions and fears. We end up spiraling into a mental loop, convincing ourselves that every decision we make will either lead to disaster or salvation. But the truth? Most of the problems we imagine never even come to pass. They live only in our minds, festering in the what-ifs and maybes. And that's the trap of overthinking. It's a self-imposed prison. It keeps you locked in a cage of your own creation, where every possible outcome is a threat, and the solutions are never clear. You may think that by thinking more, you're getting closer to clarity. But in reality, you're only digging yourself deeper into confusion. Marcus Aurelius knew that our greatest battles are not fought on the battlefield, but in our own minds. And overthinking? It's the mental enemy that holds us back from achieving peace and clarity. When you can't stop replaying past mistakes or worrying about future scenarios, you stop living in the present moment. You stop acting with purpose and start reacting from fear. But here's the kicker. This isn't inevitable. You don't have to let your thoughts control you. You don't have to be a prisoner to your own mind. It all comes down to one key realization: the illusion of control. So how do you break free from this mental prison? The first step is understanding something Marcus Aurelius and the Stoics knew very well. It all begins with seeing through the illusion of control. Stay with me. This lesson will change how you approach everything. Before we move on to the next lesson, I want to hear from you. What's one thing you find yourself overthinking about most often? Drop a comment below. I'll read through them, and we can start freeing ourselves from those endless mental loops together. Lesson 2. The illusion of control. Here's a hard truth. Most of what you stress about is completely out of your hands. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you stayed up late, replaying a conversation or a moment, obsessing over the things you can't change? Maybe you're worried about a job interview, or a presentation, or a conversation with someone who you think might judge you. You've probably imagined a million ways it could go wrong, each one more disastrous than the last. But here's the kicker. Most of it was never real. It was all just an illusion your mind created. Seneca, a legendary Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Let that sink in. The meeting you're worried about, the person's opinion of you, the what-if scenarios that keep you up at night, stressing about the unknown. They are all illusions, things that haven't happened and may never happen. Yet, we let them control our minds, robbing us of peace and clarity. The truth is, our minds love to create problems that aren't even there. The what-ifs are a trap that keeps you spiraling in circles, making you believe that if you think harder, you can solve every problem before it even happens. But the reality is, all that mental energy is wasted. It doesn't change the outcome. It just steals your calm and makes you feel powerless. Imagine for a second, you're standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at a river below. The water looks deep and fast, but you're too afraid to jump. You've convinced yourself that the river will carry you away, that you won't survive the fall. But in reality, the water is calm, shallow in some places, and not nearly as dangerous as your mind made it out to be. You could have jumped freely, but you let fear decide for you. But if controlling every outcome isn't the answer, what is? Well, the answer lies in something far more powerful: the art of mental discipline. Let's dive into how you can train your mind to remain focused, calm, and steady, no matter what life throws at you. Before we move forward, I want to hear from you. What's one thing you've been overthinking recently? Comment below and share how you plan to stop that cycle. Let's break free from these illusions together. Chapter 3. How Stoics use suffering as a weapon. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You've heard the phrase, but have you ever truly understood it? We all face pain at some point, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, or the discomfort of failure. It's unavoidable. It's a part of life. But what makes the difference isn't the pain we face. What matters is how we respond to it. The Stoics, with their timeless wisdom, looked at pain not as an enemy to avoid, but as a tool to refine themselves. They understood that suffering, when embraced properly, doesn't break you. It builds you. It strengthens you, sharpens you, and molds you into someone who can face even the harshest challenges with calm and resolve. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, didn't just theorize about this. He lived it. He deliberately put himself through discomfort. He slept on the cold, hard ground instead of in a comfortable bed. He fasted for days, depriving himself of food to remind his body that he could endure anything. This was his way of saying, if I can endure this, I can endure anything. And it worked, because when you've already gone through discomfort on purpose, real hardships lose their power over you. But you don't need to sleep on the floor like Seneca did, or go without food for days. No, you can practice voluntary discomfort in smaller, everyday ways. Take a cold shower. Go a day without your phone. Walk outside in the rain without an umbrella. These simple challenges teach you something profound. Your mind is stronger than you think. And when you train it to embrace discomfort, it becomes unstoppable. Every time you choose to step into discomfort, whether it's physical or mental, you're conditioning yourself to handle life's inevitable struggles without flinching. You're learning that hardship is not something to fear, but something to embrace. When you're no longer afraid of the hard times, when you realize that the difficult moments are merely training grounds for your mind, you become resilient. And that resilience is what separates those who break from those who thrive. The truth is, in the modern world, we're rarely in real danger, but our minds are trained to avoid discomfort at all costs. We've become accustomed to comfort, and it's that very comfort that weakens us. Think about it. When you're constantly avoiding discomfort, you're never really training your mind to handle challenges. You're not teaching yourself to deal with stress, pressure, or failure. So, when life throws something tough your way, you're caught off guard. But when you embrace discomfort as part of your growth, you learn to handle life's challenges with grace, poise, and power. Now, I want you to challenge yourself. Think of one thing in your life that you've been avoiding because it's uncomfortable. Maybe it's a tough conversation or taking a cold shower. Whatever it is, take the first step today. Drop a comment below and let me know what you're going to face head on. Lesson 4. The art of mental discipline. There's a reason soldiers, athletes, and top performers train their minds just as much as their bodies. Think about it. When you see someone